This is a restorative yoga practice. So if you don't have props at home, you could use a firm stack of books in place of a block, and you could also just use a firm pillow in place of a bolster, something that will give you the proper support as we start to move into this practice. So take your blocks or your stack of books, and you're going to place it the medium height. And then very gently, you're going to create a ramp with your bolster or your pillow. The base of your bolster is going to line up with your low back, and then the top of the bolster will rest at the top of the block so that your head is a little bit higher than your chin, your forehead's a little bit higher than your chin. As you lay all the way back, you want to make sure that the back of your head is rested there on the support so your head isn't dropping back. Then with the arms by the sides, we'll bring the soles of the feet together and open the knees out wide. If for any reason there's pulling on the inner thighs, you could slide towels or blocks underneath the thighs for extra support. The intention of a restorative yoga practice is not to have the deepest stretch you've ever had. The intention of a restorative yoga practice is to rest. So let the body feel fully supported, and at any point in time, if you need to change anything, allow yourself the opportunity to do that. As you recline back, roll the shoulders gently underneath you and spin the palms to face the sky. And it's often said that an open hand is a symbol of an open heart, so just start to sense the collarbone spreading wide, the heart receiving the breath, the belly receiving the breath. And this shape helps to take the body in the complete opposite direction that it's used to moving in. We spend most of our days sitting down, maybe at a desk or in a car, our knees pointing straight ahead. And this really gives us the opportunity to allow everything to gently sigh open and move in the opposite direction as we rest deep. So with the eyes closed, just start to notice your breath moving in and out through your nose. And it might be nice to have an active movement of the breath, a breath that has a soft sound to it, almost like the ocean rolling in and rolling back out, to help give the mind a place to focus and land. And just let the body soften into the shape. Invite stillness in, and really know that you deserve this time, you deserve this rest. So many of us spend so much of our time racing around, accomplishing, getting so much done, that we never really take the time to give ourselves the gift of dropping down, of taking a really good deep rest. We know that in today's world that the majority of disease is actually caused by stress. And this practice helps to reduce all the levels of stress hormones in the body so that you start to heal on a fundamental level from the inside out. As we continue to move forward in this practice, if you notice that you drift towards sleep, just gently encourage yourself back to the next breath. And the same thing if you notice that your mind starts to follow a thought. Again, it's just an invitation to come back to the next breath. Really compassionately, really kindly. This is time that's just for you. And start to notice the breath getting a little bit fuller. The belly lifting a little bit more with each deep inhale. The lungs expanding. And if it feels safe, if it feels okay, keep the eyes closed, slide the hands down to the outside edges of the knees, and very gently spin the soles of the feet flat to the mat. And with the soles of the feet flat to the mat, the arms down by the sides, open the arms up a little bit away from the body, just a little bit. You give yourself some space. And with the feet as wide as the hips, maybe a little bit wider depending on your shape, very gently just allow both knees to fall to the right into just a wide open front body twist. So if you happen to be pregnant, this would be an okay twist for you to be in. Your front body is open, your pelvic floor is open, your belly is open. It's an okay shape for you. If you feel like the knees are sensitive at all, you could absolutely take your blanket or your towel, if you have one nearby, and you could place it underneath the outside knee so that it has some support. If the other knee needed some support, you could do the same thing there as you rest. And the intention is to rest. There's nowhere to go, there's nothing to get to. This is it. And really allowing the body to accept the weight of gravity. Let yourself be heavy. Let the body weigh into the support underneath you, the support of the mat, the support of the floor beneath you, the support of the pillow, the blanket, the block, your bolster if you have that. And just feeling, exhale by exhale, tension and stress literally melting off of you, out and down into the mat. That our yoga mat becomes somewhat like our favorite childhood security blanket. That we can tell it everything, give it all of our tears, and it's always going to be there for us. It's never going to go away. It's just going to be there to help absorb whatever it is we're ready to let go of. And as we transition, start to take a deeper breath in through the nose. And very gently just spin the feet flat to the floor. And as you exhale, drop both knees over to the left, just taking it over to the second side. You might shift your props, you might shift your blankets, and you make it work for you. If there's anything that you need to change, this practice is not about the way that the pose looks. It's not about stretching the body. It is about you being fully comfortable, fully rested in all ways. So it should have that sensation of being able to fall asleep in the shape. And as we move the body toward that deep state of rest, we make the shift away from the sympathetic nervous system and into the parasympathetic nervous system. So we're moving away from the body's natural state of fight or flight these days and into a state of deep healing, deep resetting. You know, the world outside of our yoga practice is often one that's quite busy, that we're always multitasking. There's so much to get to. And right now, you're just being asked to simply single task on the breath. To give yourself what really is a gift of rest, of resting deep, so that as you take care of yourself, when you leave your practice, you've refilled all of your resources. You have more to give when you step back into the flow of life. So each deep cycle of breath is like a deep filling up again. Very gently on the inhale, spinning the feet flat to the mat. As the feet come flat to the mat, very softly start to roll to the right. Sweep the left arm over to support you and press all the way up to seated. Take your bolster to the top of your mat. Take your block out from underneath your bolster and then come into child's pose. Big toes come together, knees open wide apart. And the bolster comes right between the knees. So it's not further back, it's just gently to the inside edges of the knees. And then very softly take an inhale at the top, and exhale, lay the chest out and down, and start with the right cheek resting on the bolster for support. So sometimes this isn't the most comfortable pose for us, depending on our knees. If that were the case, you could take a rolled blanket or a rolled towel, and you could very gently place that behind the knees for support. And as you place that on top of the calves, it'll give you a little more space as you drop the chest out and gently rest in your version of supported child's pose if that were best. And let the arms extend out. Let the eyes close. And if it felt better to orient yourself or your nervous system by keeping the eyes open, you would just gently gaze at one point, softening the muscles around the eyes. And let the body again weigh into the floor, the arms heavy. There's nothing you need to hold up, no weight of the body that you need to sustain. Just this really sweet moment here to ground. And child's pose, such a beautiful pose, a place where at a young age we find safety, we find comfort. Let yourself drop heavy into the earth and allow the breath to move sweetly down into the very base, the very bottom of the lungs. And keeping the body in this shape, very gently pick the gaze up and just spin the left cheek down to the bolster so we bring balance. Both sides of the neck, getting equal time to open and to receive. And sometimes we think of restorative yoga as being an easy practice, and it's not always easy to be still. And it's okay if it's not easy to be still. Give yourself permission to use the breath to help quiet and calm the mind, and to also help bring you back into the present moment. And if you find the mind rushing off somewhere outside this room or off this mat, that the breath is there to really gently bring you back in. Tops of the thighs soft. Belly soft under the weight of gravity. And together, take a deep inhale through the nose. And open the mouth. On the inhale, walk the hands back in underneath the shoulders. Straighten the arms to lift the chest. And as you lift the chest, very gently, just spin both knees to face the left side of your mat. Keep the bolster where it is. And then as you come to sit down on your sit bones, your right hip is going to align right with your bolster. And then with both feet spinning toward the left, you're just going to reach your right arm over your right bolster. And as you reach your right arm forward, lay all the way down onto your right side waist, just into a really simple side stretch. The left arm can stay here in front of the face. If the shoulders are really open, you might reach the left arm up toward the sky and up and overhead, and then the hands might connect and interlace. And this is just a nice stretch down the outside edge of the left shoulder, but if that's too much, if the arm is floating in midair, just keep the left hand down by the left side or even down in front of the face. And we're going to just be here for a couple of breaths, for a little bit of time. And eventually we'll move into a twist. But if you were pregnant or you think you might be pregnant, you would stay right here in this shape. And in the side stretch, the right side waist, gently breathing its way down into the support underneath you. You can feel the bolster under the right waist. You can sense the right lung ebbing and flowing with the breath, rising and falling. And already, just in this shape, in this sweet side stretch, there is a detoxification process that takes place. The body, a lot like a sponge, when the breath fills the body, there's a really sweet pressure that gets placed on the internal organs, and it's just like we're wringing them out. Letting go of anything there that the body no longer needs. And if it were best for you to stay in this shape, you would stay here. If you swept the left arm up and overhead, reach the left arm back up toward the sky, and then together, place the left hand down in front of the face onto the floor just beyond the bolster, and then press into the left hand to lift the chest. Right hand comes to the outside edge of the bolster. Pivot the heart forward toward the top of the mat, and as you exhale, lay the chest back down. The arms might extend gently forward, and it's very personal how you place the neck. You might gaze toward the knees, and that's going to be less of a stretch in the neck. Looking away from the knees is going to be a little more intense in the sides of the neck. So either shape is great. Pick a place that's right for you, and if you take the shape of turning the gaze away from the knees, if you feel like it's too much, at any point in time, just spin the right cheek back down to your support. And then as you find the place that's right for you to rest, mentally scan the body again. From the fingertips all the way down to the toes. Is there anything that could work a little bit less? Maybe the hips could soften. Maybe the jaw could release. Maybe the shoulders could slide down the back. Let this shape be as effortless as possible for you as you rest. With the breath really smooth, it's almost as if you could send the breath into the entire back body. Let the full back receive the breath. Just like someone really sweetly placed their hands on your back and you're just trying to fill their hands gently with your breath. And as you do that, the breath will search out the little corners of tension and stress. Your breath almost like your own personal energy worker, just finding those places that need some soothing, need some release. And if the left cheek is resting down on the bolster, really gently pick up the gaze and spin the right cheek back down onto your support. You just kind of come back to the right side of the neck, being soft. Notice if you have an urge to hurry into the next place. This practice really teaching us the importance of pausing. And very gently sliding the left hand in front of the face, For a moment, just come back onto your right side, right arm reaching forward to the top of the mat, right temple rests back down on the right arm. You come back into that first side stretch. And then on the inhale, pressing down into the left hand, lift the chest. And as you rise all the way back up, see if the eyes can stay soft. Spin to face the knees. And as you spin to face the knees, take your bolster. Sweep your bolster to your left hip. Sweep your feet over to the right. And same thing as we set up to the second side. Left hip lines up with the bolster. Left arm reaches back. And really gently, just releasing down onto the left side. Head heavy. Right hand might stay in front of the face. The right arm might sweep up and overhead, and the fingers might interlace. And the beautiful thing about a restorative yoga practice is that we can do it any time. We can do this practice when we're sick. We can do this practice when we're healing from an injury. And we can even do this practice just on days where we feel like our energy is really low and we need some time to ground, we need some time to really care for ourselves. That this is a practice that's really acceptable to everyone at all times. Such a beautiful practice to have access to as we learn to quiet, we learn to go inside, and we learn to really listen to the breath. The breath just guiding us back into inner intuition, hearing that little voice inside. And the left sideways, heavy under the pressure of gravity. Really gently, just dropping down into the support, wringing out. And again, if you were pregnant or you thought that you might be pregnant, you would stay right here. Otherwise, if the right arm reached up and overhead, reach the right arm back up toward the sky. Place the right hand down on the floor in front of the face. Gently press into the right hand. As you pivot the chest toward the bolster, the left hand comes down to the outside edge of the mat. Spin the heart toward the top of your bolster and really gently release all the way down. Deeper neck stretch takes the gaze away from the knees. A little more simple neck stretch takes the gaze toward the knees. And the knees might be stacked in very different ways. Sometimes the knees are on top of each other or very close. Sometimes the knees are wider apart. And it's just really personal, depending on what your body says is best. There's not one shape that's better than another. It's really personal, depending on your practice today. And just the same thing here. To experience the full benefit of this twist, can you breathe into the back body? Can you envision that someone really gently placed their hands at the back of your heart, and you were just really sweetly filling their hands with your breath? And breathing in a way that if someone heard a recording of your breath, they would know without a doubt that you were absolutely okay. That you were calm, that you were peaceful, that you're being fully taken care of. There's no worry or concern. So nice, you guys. Beautiful stillness. Beautiful, sweet breath. And if the right cheek is resting on the bolster, very gently pick the gaze up. Spin the left cheek back down to the base of support, coming back for a moment. Head heavy, sides of the neck really long. And as gently as you can, pressing into the right hand to slide the left arm back underneath you, right back into your side stretch. Left arm reaching back. Left temple heavy into the upper arm. You just take your time. No need to hurry, no need to rush. And on the inhale, pressing down into the right hand, rising all the way back up to sit. As you spin forward toward the top of your mat, take your bolster with you. Line your bolster up parallel to the top of your mat. And then very gently roll all the way onto your back. Hug and squeeze the knees into the chest. As you squeeze the knees into the chest, wrap the forearms around the knees. And for a moment, do the opposite of what we've been doing all practice. Squeeze the fingers, squeeze the toes, squeeze the lips, the muscles around the eyes. Bring as much tension in as you can. Take one last deep inhale through the nose, full deep breath in, and let it all go. As the legs extend, the bolster is right below the knees, releasing the entire back heavy to the floor. Palms spinning to the sky, the feet falling away. Let all active breath go. Coming back into a natural pattern of breath. And if you had something to cover the eyes or you had a blanket to put over the body, that might be really sweet here. Letting yourself drift, maybe even towards sleep. Deep final rest. If you're practicing at home and you have time to stay longer, please do so. Otherwise, if it's time for you to move on, start to deepen the breath. Let the belly become full, soft movement into the tips of the fingers. As the movement very gently trickles down into the toes, a soft movement back into the body. On the inhale, sweeping the arms overhead. Really long, deep stretch from the fingertips to the toes. Hug the knees into the chest. Gently roll to the right, curling up to the side one last time. And again, we learn to pause, taking a moment here, knowing that even the transition is a pose. Pressing down into the left hand as you're ready, rise all the way up to sit. Bring the hands softly to touch at the center of the heart, bowing the gaze in. And we invite the opportunity to pause with us, off the mat and out into our lives, knowing that the opportunity to pause feeds into everything we're thinking, saying, and doing. That our yoga practice motivates us into action, not into reaction. On the inhale, placing the hands to the forehead for clarity of thought, the fingertips to the lips for thoughtfulness of speech, and the hands to the heart for consistency of action, allowing your practice to guide you through everything you're thinking, saying, and doing. Take a deep inhale through the nose. Open the mouth. Namaste.